I'd love to ask you, can you share more about the work you're doing now and your experience as a mom?
The work that I'm doing right now involves tapping into a lot of uncertainty and creativity. It's entrepreneurship, stepping away from the traditional model of medicine into entrepreneurship while also being a mother has been interesting. And I am really excited to talk about everything through the lens of motherhood because I've never had this very specific conversation. I know that's what I mentioned right before we pressed record. It is exciting, it is terrifying, it is also this recognition: where am I taking the wrongs, or wrongs is a very strong word, but where am I taking the workaholism that I learned, the toxic achievement that I learned in medicine, and then superimposing that into motherhood? Where is my perfectionism that I have cultivated so intentionally, and now I talk about stepping away from it, and has brought me over here? So just a lot of like mindfulness of what brought me to this point of my life, and like how can I truly and actively pause and look at some of those things and not just continue down that road. And to be honest, while I had addressed burnout and moral injury in a variety of ways as I transitioned into my entrepreneurial journey, I realized that wow, there is this deep thread of perfectionism and workaholism and imposterism that I cannot get rid of. And I continue to take that on. And as I think of myself constantly like a project, the energy that I'll exude for the people around me, including the young humans that I care for, is not very conducive. And so I think it was pausing and reflecting over and over again till having this recognition. And who knows what I'll find out tomorrow, but it's interesting.
And self-awareness, it must be an interesting mirror to like look at yourself through that mirror and not only realize the impact of our actions on ourselves, but then like you said, on those little humans that you care for and love.
Absolutely. And there's so much, I think that motherhood brings a lot of very interesting emotions in me. Maybe I'm not as terrified when I'm doing other aspects of my life, how I'm showing up in spaces and places. But motherhood is extremely terrifying. And it is also extremely guilt inducing. And it brings all these, like, it's not all negative emotions, but I'm just very honestly sharing. It brings about guilt and shame and like making the wrong decision. They definitely don't come with a manual. And like what works for one child is not going to work for another child. And this consistent feeling of what am I going to transfer to them that is not productive. So you're constantly moving. But on the other end, there's also a lot of gratitude, and children will point things out to you. I thought I was being very self compassionate till my own child pointed out that no, I was not. And so it's a constant balancing act, but not in the way of like work life balance, in the way that you are constantly navigating being present versus being afraid and all the time.